G'day guys and welcome, my name is Michael and I'm the DeadAussieGamer, here to share with you my tips, tricks, ideas and strategies for playing and running tabletop role-playing games. Today's video we're going to be talking about role-playing in Asian adventures. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because I am recently starting a new Asian-inspired fantasy campaign, which is inspired by the Pathfinder 2nd Edition adventure, Fist of the Ruby Phoenix. So I'm going to be doing a little adventure with some of my Patreons on Friday mornings on my Twitch channel. And during the session 0, it got me thinking about some of the ways that I think some people... at least some of the things that might help folks who want to get into an Asian-styled campaign, and yeah, just some of the things that could really help you up your game when it comes to playing in these adventures. Now, this advice is for people who may not necessarily be overly familiar with Asian culture or Asian mythos, because there are, of course, as many different mythos as there are different cultures from Asia. You have India, you have Sri Lanka, you have Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Tibet, Vietnam, Mongolia, China, Japan. There's just so many different types of cultures that are part of what we consider Asia, that there are it's almost impossible to try and get all of that lore into your head, just to be a part of a role-playing game. So we're going to be taking that as our mindset when we head into it, where we can start looking and how we can best approach role-playing in a campaign like this. So where do we begin? The first rule of thumb I'm going to say is quite a simple one, and that is, unless you are certain that everyone at the table is cool with it, don't try an Asian accent, right? Because a lot of the time it can come off a little offensive. If you're confident with it, if the players are cool with it, and the GM is cool with it, then sure, go ahead. It's a lot of fun. It's great to be able to do that sort of thing. But otherwise, no one's going to criticize you for having your own voice. It's just part and parcel of your particular table. I know I had that as a question at my table. It's like, hey Mike, listen, are you cool if we do like an Asian accent? And I'm like, yeah, sure, as long as you don't go really over the top, like offensive, like Asian stereotype. Sure, we're great, we're cool, because ironically, stereotypes aren't racists, but racists use stereotypes. So the sucky thing is it means doing stereotypical things can sometimes imply racism, which sucks, but that's just the way it is. So that's number one. Number one is, if you want to try an accent, make sure everyone's cool with it. Second thing is don't always lean on Japan. Right. Now, Japan is a wonderful culture. I love Japan. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love and adore everything about Japan. And they have done a ace game getting involved with the RPG community. JRPGs are a huge thing, right? Ever since Dragon Quest, they have ingrained the knowledge about Japanese history, culture, and lore and mythos into a wide variety of role-playing game scenes, right? The fact of the matter is that, yeah, you often see samurais and ninjas in like Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder and a whole bunch of places, right? This is because they're such a heavy pop culture reference that a lot of people, when they design Asian characters, they will lean on, the Japanese lore and the Japanese mythos. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't forget that there are tons and tons for you to explore. For example, there are Mongolian warlords. There is the horseback warlords who ride across the plains of the icy, frigid northern side of China. That would be an absolutely awesome character to play. The mountaineers of the Tibetan highlands, that would be equally cool and fun. A druid Sherpa would be kind of an interesting character. The Indian Sikh warriors, and there's just so many. There's tons. There's so many different types of adventures that could be had here. And while I'm not saying don't use Japanese ones, I'm just saying, explore, look around. There's so many different things you could be. Yeah, definitely look around and appreciate it. Now, once you kind of have your idea of the character you want to play, right? You've gotten your character. You're like, I want to play a Tengu Shugenja. If you know what a Shugenja is, Good on you. Look at you going. You know it all. You either that or you played 3.5. Be honest. Let me know. But yeah, you want to play a Tengu Shugenja. So sure, that's fantastic. The next step is you need to understand your place in the world. One thing that is very common with a lot of Asian adventures is the idea of the system of society. What hierarchy exists? Do you exist in a empire in which the imperial house has their primary emperor, which then trickles down to all of the different magistrates, which then trickle down to the people, which trickles down to the servants and the serfs? Where do you fit in this hierarchy, and what do you need to do to maintain that? Now, this isn't a requirement, right? Like, if let's say that you are a tailor, someone who works with fine silks, and you want to become an adventurer. Fantastic, that's great. Maybe the emperor has appointed a new magistrate to oversee this particular region of the province. Fantastic, great. Trouble is that there's now a massive tax which has now been handed down by this magistrate. Not so good. And unfortunately, while people are starving and kind of impoverished, crime has now gone up. Your own business has now been attacked. What does that mean for you? Do you rise up against the magistrate and take out your sword and go, I am going to stop these taxes? Well, because if you do, then the police are going to come after you. And if the police come after you and they find out your identity, well, then it's not just you that's at risk, it's your family that's at risk, because your family name will be dragged through the mud. And that sense of honor and duty to one's family is very important, right? So where do you fit? Do you instead don a mask and become a vigilante? Do you maybe just sort of shut the blinds, pretend nothing's happening until someone drags you into this, and now you're trying to prove to everyone that you weren't involved? There are a number of great and interesting ways for you to be able to explore your character based on where they might happen to be within that hierarchy. The idea and concepts of honor and propriety are very important in a lot of different Asian cultures. So yeah, very, very cool thing. Another thing to look at is superstition. Asian cultures tend to be very, very spiritual, and they have a deep and insightful connection to the natural world and what they believe to be the spirit world, where creatures and entities are bridging the gap between what we can perceive and what we can't. There might be a forest that when you go into, you disappear and transform into a fox. And that could simply be the nature of that place, right? It's not some sort of malicious evil ghost transforming people into it, but the land or the nature itself being so full of spiritual energy that it transforms those who enter. You could find yourself being misled by being lured by creatures that have erupted from hell and now seek only to just corrupt and to twist you out of that position that you've made for yourself in your life and in your society. Why? Who knows? They're bastards. It's what they do. The Oni, for example. Great, I love Oni. Oni are like one of my favorite villains of all time. These creatures, these mythological beings, have just so much juicy lore about them. It's one of the things I love most about playing in an Oriental adventure is really kind of getting to explore those styles of adventure where these incredibly dangerous creatures with very specific things that they do exist as part of your world. Like, it's just that they're there. The idea that if your wife is waking up in the middle of the night with bruises around them, then you are being plagued by the spirit of a baby. Holy crap, that's terrifying. A ghost, a yurei, for example, or a yuki-onna, you finding yourself frozen into your building. The doors and windows are shut because somebody, while they were driving their carriage in the wilderness, picked up a hitchhiker wearing a white dress. Well, crap, now we're dealing with a frozen ghost witch. Yay! Right? So many cool things, so many awesome things. Sorry, I kind of got off track there. But the important bit here is to play into that superstition. right? Not everyone knows all the rules when it comes to the things that are superstitious. However, everyone has their story. Everyone has an uncle or an auntie or someone who has gone through exactly this thing. So, explore those worlds as if you knew everything but knew nothing. Explore it as if you had almost a glancing feeling about it, because when you do so, having the world or having the GM correct you, or, I say correct you, but, having the GM be able to explain it to you is part of the joy of it, right? Not knowing and not understanding what's happening is inherently part of it. I mean, I know we get to a position where, we now understand, like, yeah, okay, it's a goblin. It's a tiny little thing. It's got pointy ears. It's got a knife. It's a goblin, right? But we don't think anymore about, like, goblins in the way of, like, oh my god, my dog, the collar's here, but there are footprints leading out into the woods. What could it be? It's a goblin. It's goblin footprints, and the goblins have, like, 15 hit points. We know everything about them. We lose that mystery and that magic. So one of the big things about playing in an Asian adventure is that because there is so many different types of cultures and mythoses, that magic is always going to be there. So lean into it, absorb and embrace that magic, and you will have an absolutely incredible time. Also, martial arts. Martial arts are cool, and there are so many there. Seriously, like, just pick something, pick anything. You can even make up your own martial arts. The idea of different types of kenpo are a great inspiration. Pick an animal, pick a kenpo. This kenpo, bum, done. Whatever, play around with it. Yeah. All right, that's my video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope that it helps you guys at the next time you are playing in an Asian-styled campaign. If you have any questions or any thoughts, please leave them in the chat below. Let me know what you think. Until next time, guys, as always, from me to you, game hard or die trying. Good night.